Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Welcome, everybody, to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. I hope everybody's having a phenomenal day. Happy Martin Luther King Day on Monday. And I want to thank everybody that listens, watches, and reads Must Read Alaska. If you want to help to keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska, just go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side, there's a little donate button. Every $5, $10, $100 helps keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska. And if you want to help sponsor the show, because I know there's tons of businesses out there that want to help sponsor the show, I hope there is at least one. Email me, John, John, at mustreadalaska.com. We're working on some exciting things here at the Must Read Alaska Show. So our reach will be even further here down the road, which is going to be very exciting. But without further ado, I have a very special guest today, Assemblymember Bill Elam of the Sterling Funny River / huge, ginormous district of the Kenai Peninsula. He is here talking to us today about his decision to put his hat in another race. So without further ado, welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show, Bill.
Good morning. Thanks, John. I appreciate that intro there. And just, all of the work that you guys do there at Must Read Alaska to help get the information out, the news about what's going on here in Alaska. But yes, you are correct. I have put my name in the hat for the opportunity to be able to serve at the state level. And, it's been a wonderful opportunity to be able to serve the Kenai Peninsula on the Borough Assembly, but with Ben Carpenter stepping out of the House of Representatives and looking to have a seat there in the Senate. I just saw this as a great opportunity to be able to come in and serve my community that much more.
Awesome. So take me back to the original day, maybe 5 years ago or so, when you thought, I have a crazy idea, or somebody probably put it in your head. I think I remember who it was. That, hey, Bill, you should run for the Assembly because Norm Blakely is not going to run again or termed out or whatever it was. And Norm did such an awesome job. Big shoes to fill. But what made you throw your name in the hat there initially? It's been 4 years ago or something like that now?
It was just really kind of an opportunity to be able to serve. The first time I was approached, I'm like, oh, absolutely not a politician. This is not by any means what I want to do. I don't want to jump into the swamp, And so anyhow, it took, some conversations back and forth. And once I really realized actually what you can do and the impact that you can have in everyone's lives, just little things right along the way, that I really appreciated the opportunity, and I really enjoy serving and helping our community in all of those areas. And so I've been able to be successful in a lot of things throughout the community, helping make people's lives a little better. And that I really enjoy doing that. And so, anytime somebody gives me the chance to serve, I'll jump in there and do that.
So this last time around, you had I don't know if you ran unopposed the first time, but I think this last time you definitely had somebody run against you. Talk to me a little bit about what that's like for folks that have never run before. It's got to be a little bit nerve-wracking to you're a very nice person. And so I think it's got to be a little nerve-wracking to think, holy crap, somebody's running against me and I got to kind of roll up the sleeves here.
Well, yeah, so I guess one of the biggest things when I start talking about campaigning and elections is the statesmanship. Like, I do not like getting down in the mud and slinging sand in the sandbox. I think that, if you can't stand for your values and walk that walk, then, what's the point? And so having competition, I like the competition, I enjoy it, but it is invigorating, but also kind of like gets your nerves a little bit because you just don't know. Your circles and their circles are completely different, so you don't know what's going on. You're kind of always sort of wondering and what do we got to do here? And I like the competition because it drives me to work harder and to find out more about the issues, to be more available for folks to be telling me what they got going on. And so I like going out and being in part of the community and knowing the issues and what's important to people. And I don't think you really see that unless you're just really out and about. And the last 4 or 5 years, I've had a ton of time with our community, and I've really appreciated that about the
Well, you
people that
come
we
all the way
have.
out to Nikiski. I mean, we do,
Yeah,
shameless plug for the hardware store. Nikiski Hardware does these pretty phenomenal events that are phenomenal because the community comes out.
yeah.
And, your district is all the way out in Sterling. And I'm pretty sure you've came to every single one of our events, talking to people, having fun time. And that's probably what you've done all across the whole peninsula.
Yeah, anytime there's something going on, I tend to go out there, drag my wife and the boys out, and I'm sure they probably get tired of going to everything, but we have a great time, and the boys love doing it as well, and so it's just a great way to also teach your children and your kids, and to get them involved with what's going on and know what it really takes to have a community. And I don't know, one of these days, hopefully they see the value in it too. I always think of it that we are doing it. It's not me that's doing it.
So what one of the things that I think that I've appreciated about you, as you know, you're on the Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly. I live in the Kenai Peninsula. I pay attention to all the assembly members. One of the things I think you've done a great job at is sticking to your convictions, but also being willing to not be a complete jerk and work with other folks at the same time. So talk to me a little bit about that. What's it been like working with folks, having a good relationship with folks, regardless of where they stand politically? Because I think that's kind of the tough thing now that we face right now, right? It's like you're either one extreme or the other. And if you're one extreme, you hate everybody else. You don't want to talk to them. They're evil, they're bad. And really, especially in small town politics, it's just your neighbor, right? Or
Yeah.
and you're going to see these people at Safeway like in a week. So it's a different ball game maybe. And so talk to me a little bit about what that's been like, being able to work with all these kind of ideas and beliefs.
Yeah, I think that you bring up a good point, and I think that really kind of the core to that is relationships. So what's your motivation? And for me, I'm not willing to just throw away every relationship on something where we don't agree. And the challenge with politics is all of it gets political, right? But then it also has a high level of transparency if you're doing it right. And so people see and hear those conversations, and so they kind of watch that go back and forth. And you're right, it's like you got to stick to your values, you got to know what you believe in, but then you can also do that with a level of statesmanship and politeness. There's nothing wrong with please and thank you. And I think that goes a long ways. And then we can start talking about the stuff that we do agree on, and what do you agree on that I agree on that we can work on together. It's a challenge a lot of the times when you're in a minority, to be able to stick to those values and not compromise on that, but then also be effective, right? So you got to have those relationships, and so I think those relationships are really, really important.
And what are some of the things? I'm sure there's like you've worked on tons of things over the last 3 years. What's maybe one that stands out that you've been proud of that you've worked on, even if it's not some major piece of legislation? What's something that you're excited that you worked on?
There was a couple of things. One of the first ones that I did whenever I first was getting in, I helped Norm repeal the vote by mail ordinance that came down. Now that was technically right before I was in office, but it was while I was campaigning, and so I helped him out a lot with that, and that was really great. And then we got state statute changed to be able to allow us to fix some issues that we were having with our planning commission. The planning commission said originally, and this was a highly unpopular thing with the cities, if you didn't, because they all have a seat at the planning commission. So what it did is it bloated our planning commission up to like 16 members or something. I mean, it's like you can't get anything done if you're just, they were wanting it to be within state statute. We were going to have to remodel the already remodeled borough assembly chambers.
Oh, geez. And that just got remodeled like what, 4 years ago or something, 5 years
Right,
ago?
exactly. And so it was just like the whole thing was just really, really inefficient. And so was able to work with uh, the assembly. We got unanimous support to go in, and maybe it wasn't unanimous support, but it was the majority of the support. And then I took stuff down to Juneau, was able to get work with our legislative delegates down there, and then got state statute changed, and then we were able to bring the planning commission down to where we have a reasonable number of them now that more closely align with the borough assembly districts rather than the cities and the borough assembly districts. And the way that it was is like, so a city, municipality has its own planning department with zoning and all of that. So they can do anything and everything they want to do there. The only real change was some of the plot lines, and the boroughs and the cities and everything always work really, really well together on those. It's not a contested issue ever. And so the cities still have a very high level of access to the planning commission and to those seats for representation. But then we also have a more efficient form of government.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always thought there was some redundancy there because the the chief of staff for the mayor works pretty closely with the city of Soldotna's city manager and the city of Kenai city manager, and they have their own planning commissions, and so I think that that's a great move. I think the governor just did something similar yesterday or the day before. He kind of went through all the boards and commissions and found redundancies, and so I think that we can always I think doing that kind of stuff takes a lot of work. As you said, you got to get in a plane, you got to go to Juneau, you got to talk to people. It's not an easy thing, but man, look back 5 years from now and think about, okay, we didn't have to remodel something. Okay.
Yeah.
We have better representation. Okay. We have less bureaucracy, less red tape. I think over the long haul, it's going to be a big win for the borough.
Exactly. And I like those big wins, but if I'm completely honest, some of the stuff that I find the most personal satisfaction from is the little things that I'm able to help people with. And so I don't know, it was a couple years ago, I was driving through one of my areas and I saw a constituent with a flooded yard. And I mean like massively flooded yard. And she's on a hillside. And then she was sitting out there with a pump, pumping water across a borough maintained dirt road, right? And her yard was just flooded. And so I stopped and asked her a couple of questions and stuff. And then I got on the phone with roads, as I was driving off, and I was like, hey, I think we should take a look at this. I took a couple pictures and texted it over to them. And within just a very short time, they put in a culvert. And then they were able to, yeah. And then I've driven by
no
there
more
a few
pump
times now.
That's going to take her 17 hours to get rid of the.
Right. And she's got the best yard in that area now. And I don't think she probably even knows who I am. But I like finding those sort of problems and seeing them and being able to fix it. Right. That accountability and responsibility together. And so, yeah, those are things I like doing.
That's awesome. So, we talked about it a little bit right at the beginning, but recently you put your name in the hat for this state rep position. Talk to me a little bit about that decision as well, because that's a lot different than being on the assembly, right? In the assembly, you can drive to the meetings from your house. You don't have to go to Juneau that much. This is a whole new ballgame of living in Juneau for 3 to 4 to 5 months of the year. What made you want to throw your name in the hat for this position?
I think that a couple of the things that I saw like right out of the gate there was I've been engaged. I know the issues. I've seen what we've got going on here. Ben has been there and been a great out there in the community and everything. So, but with him stepping out, there not being an incumbent, it just seemed like a great opportunity for me to be able to continue to serve the community, but at a greater capacity, right? So it's really all of those kind of unincorporated areas, get up into Nikiski and stuff. Juneau hasn't been particularly effective recently. And I think that if I go down there, I can, the wheels of government are slow, but I do think that we can make a difference through some of those relationships. I got a lot of really good relationships and connections I've been able to make down there. And to be able to help bring some efficiency to government and some of those successes that we've had here on the peninsula, and focus on those, I think we can make a difference and really kind of fix some of the problems we've had. And then we can also get the Kenai more on the map for our good things that we're doing, right? The wins that we have down here, the reasons people want to live here, and why we have such a great community. And so then, of course, we've got issues like, natural resources with natural gas, and, industry, and all the things that are important to the community here. But then I also represent the people who live here. I've been the liaison to the school board for the last 3 years. I've been in the legislative delegation, going down to Juneau, bringing our priorities down there. I've done CES as our road services, emergency services, Eastern Peninsula road service or emergency services. I mean, the list goes on, and it's just, I know what the problems are here. I know where the bridges are that are not right. I can make sure that there's a voice at the table that says, what's happening to that road that's going out north there, right? So I think I can really help out a lot.
So there's going to be folks that listen here, especially probably maybe in Nikiski, that are going to want to get to know you a little bit. How could somebody, we talked a little bit about this before, you don't have a website up yet, which is all right. I'm sure one is coming. How can somebody get a hold of you or get in touch with you if they have questions about you and your campaign and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So my cell phone number is 907-690-4339. My email address is bill.elam@me.com. So they can definitely email, call. I'm on Facebook. I'm going to be getting my website up, and then I will also be getting my Facebook page put together here pretty quick to have some stuff there, hopefully this weekend.
Nice. So I'll put that contact information in the podcast description. Definitely. 20 minutes has gone by in a flash. Bill, any last minute thoughts here before we head out?
Just, definitely want people to reach out, let me know what they're thinking, what they want to do. Trying to get the campaign stuff all kicked off here, right? So that's a big effort. So I'm trying to get my team put together, and then get the word out. Looking for some support there. And again, John, I appreciate you guys bringing me on the podcast and all the great work you're doing around the state here too.
Awesome. Well, Bill, I appreciate you. I think you've done a great job on the assembly there, and good luck to you on your campaign. And I'm sure I'll see more of you here, because Nikiski is in that area. So we wish you nothing but the best here for Must Read Alaska. For folks listening in that like Must Read Alaska and like to listen, watch, and read Must Read Alaska, if you want to help sponsor the podcast, because I know you're just dying to, email me, John, JOHN, @mustreadalaska.com, and would love to chat with you. Tomorrow, we have another guest on tomorrow. Senator Dan Sullivan was going to come on Monday, but he had to reschedule because all those flight crazy cancellation things. So I'm working with his folks to reschedule. It's probably going to be next week or the week after, but it'll be an exciting time to have him on the show. And until next time, I'm John Quick from somewhere in Alaska. Thank you so much, Assemblymember Bill Elam.